apology. They can shove their apology up their ass. Hemi Panarin definitely looked like he got his mojo back. He got an assist. I was wrong. Big.
Well, then get your shit together. Get it all together and put it in a backpack. All your shit. So it's together. And if you gotta take it somewhere, you know? Take it to the shit store and sell it. Or put it in a shit museum. I don't care what you do. You just gotta get it together. Get your shit together.
Can't say that enough right now for the New York Rangers, guys. And I know some numbers are going to say some things, then people are going to be like, hey, everybody, calm down. But you look at those last two games, we had to have a special caucus right now. And I, of course, am your host, Mark Williams, who maybe I didn't change that. Apparently, Jonathan Quick looked his age last night. And I'm joined by the Hockey News, Mr. Anthony Larocco.
Good to be back. Although, you know, I think I might have seen the real Mika Zibanejad on the beach in Jamaica, because the one wearing his uniform right now, I think, is an imposter.
And of course, the host of the Final Buzzer, Mr. John Filkowski.
I would say if you were in Ibiza, you probably saw him, but not Jamaica. I think I heard he likes to DJ in Ibiza because whatever that is, wearing that 93 jersey out there, it looks like the fake Undertaker or the fake Sting from 90s wrestling. And it's just, it's a Walmart or a Temu version of him. I don't understand it. Yeah, a serious team fires someone after an effort, but I don't know what's going to go on right now with this team. It's crazy to think about. Well, they can come out like this.
It's insane, Filk. It really is insane, because maybe until Thursday night, maybe we wouldn't have reacted like this. But you look at those last two games, like they would have to pay good money to get dominated that much. And there should have been a safe word. Maybe the safe word should have been pretenders, or Igor Shesterkin screaming out, pay me more money, because maybe they need to pay Igor $20 million. Why not stop at that? Because
terrible idea.
It's sort of like, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys in a second, but it's sort of like, I can't help but look at the last two games. They've been experimenting and tinkering and trying to get better for the playoffs and being ready. They might not make the playoffs the way they're playing. Because you think about the Panthers 2 years ago, President's Trophy, they come back, they have a whole different scheme, and then they end up going to the Stanley Cup Finals 2 straight years in a row. Maybe that's a little bit what the Rangers are doing, but the players aren't reacting like it. The players aren't doing.
We're going to get to this.
And as Joe Graves is saying that right now. So
we're
going
to get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, this is. You might want to look at the road trip and go. They're 2-2. They're 12-6-1. Yeah.
I don't know how anybody can think that these efforts are helping their point. Something we're going to get to in a little bit.
Yeah, these are all 100%, guys. Anthony, first, let me get your thoughts on it, and then I want to uncage the Filk.
I'm looking forward to that too. But I'm going to start speaking of Filk. You know, Filk said earlier, like when fans would say, "Oh, but look at their record," and Filk would point out like their record here is irrelevant. And when you talk about that a little further, they have 12 wins. One of them have come against a playoff team. That's Toronto Maple Leafs. Their 6 regulation losses have been all against teams in the playoffs. Like, I understand good teams are supposed to be bad teams, correct? You should do that. But just think about where would they be if they didn't play the Red Wings 3 times? What happens if those 3 games against the Red Wings were against, you know, the Hurricanes and some other better teams? Like, the Rangers could have significantly less points. So it's like, yeah, you look at their record, they're 12-6-1, but when you really kind of do a deep dive in it, they haven't really met the litmus test. And it's showing on the ice. I mean, I tweeted about it before. You know, Trocheck is really struggling. You talk about Zibanejad, he's got 4 goals in 19 games. I mean, Riley Smith at this point, I think we would all admit he's rather useless out there. He's got 3 goals in 19 games. Like, he's a guy that, they were kind of relying on to at least score like 15 to 20 goals. I don't think anybody realistically was going to think this guy was going to, score 65, 70 points, but they need him to be better than what he's doing right now. And then Chris Kreider, I mean, he's got 0 assists. His 9 points are all goals. 9 points in 19 games. That's not good. I mean, you guys are better at math than me, but 9 points in 19 games is what, like pace for what, 40 points maybe? I don't
41, 42 points maybe.
I mean, that's not good enough. And then, as we all know, Zibanejad struggles. So, and look, the dangerous thing for the Rangers is, the Hurricanes, I think, proved to everybody they're still a good team. Coached by Rod Brindamore, they're not going anywhere. Same thing with Devils. We all kind of saw the Devils rebounding. I think they are who they are. The wild card here is the Capitals. Could they still fall off? Yes, they possibly could. But for now, they're a good team, and the Rangers, maybe not on paper, but in terms of points right now, they're the 4th best team in the division. And the dangerous thing for them is that teams outside of that playoff line, like the Tampa Bay Lightning, the New York Islanders, they're not terribly far away from them. You're talking, 3-4 points. I mean, even the Bruins only trail the Rangers by 2 points for that first wild card spot. So it's not impossible that by the Thanksgiving break, the Rangers are sitting in that second wild card spot. So yeah, it's not a good situation for the Rangers to be in. I mean, the good thing is it still is, early, but it's not horribly early. We're talking it's almost December. So something has to change here. And before I hand over to Filk, we were kind of talking, off air, and what are the options? Laviolette's not getting fired. I mean,
nope.
I think that would shock everybody. And to make a huge trade right now is relatively unrealistic. I mean, to make a move like that is hard to do. Sure, could Chris Drury trade like Capo Caco, who doesn't make a ton of money, for another similar type of player? Yeah, but I mean, is that really going to move the needle? No.
And by the way, Anthony, that might be the answer at the third center. You can't trade Caco right now. You got to try him out.
My point is, what I was saying was he could make a minor deal like that, but I don't know how much that's going to help. What this team really needs right now is a big shakeup, and I think that at this point, a big shakeup like that is not really realistic. So the answer right now is going to be in-house. They got to look at themselves in the mirror and say, this isn't good enough, because no one's coming in to save us right now. We're not going to have Mikko Rantanen walking in the door right now in a blockbuster trade. That's not happening. So
yep.
They have to figure it out themselves. And the only thing they can do, and which Filk has mentioned and everyone's mentioned, they could send a message and they could put Mika Zibanejad or Chris Kreider or somebody in the press box to really send a strong message. They could do that, but I don't know if Laviolette has the stones to do that. And this is coming from a guy who thinks he's a great coach. It's a dangerous.
Well, no. Oh, yeah, me and you.
It's a dangerous proposition for a coach. Not really dangerous, but it's tough for them to mentally put one of their top players in the press box, because if it doesn't get better or things get even worse after that, everyone's going to talk about how that was maybe a bad decision. But I mean, short of that, there's not much they could do right now to really shake it up.
And again, we're going to turn this over to Filk right now and release the Filk. But let me just also say that, you know what? You're going to have to figure it out. There is a major shakeup that needs to happen on this team, and it actually needs to happen sooner than later, because they're not answering any questions. And the hold on until you get near trade deadline, then revamp the team a little bit, that didn't really work 2 years ago. And now they're kind of trying to hope that that's what's going to happen this year. There's a reason why minor changes had to be made at the deadline last year. They have to make major changes this year. This team is not a Stanley Cup contender. I see it to you, Mr. Filkowski.
I don't understand it. I don't get how this team can come out for the 5th time in the last 2 weeks and just look like absolute horseshit. And they just continue to come out with these efforts. They got spanked by Buffalo 15 days prior to last night's loss. And that was the second time in 15 days where they just mailed it in completely from the first second of the game to the last second of the game.
Yep.
And to me, that's a major indictment on this leadership group, that this malaise has gone on that long. And I've seen comments on Twitter and other social media forums. Well, we've seen this before. No, we haven't seen this before. We haven't seen this team come out this poorly and play this poorly from start to finish and just absolutely get their asses kicked, their faces beaten in. Like the pounding that they take is worse than a pounding that Jenna Jameson took in her prime. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. This team comes out and they do nothing. They look like they're going through the motions, like they think that they're so good. They're so arrogant and so delusional that they think that they're so good that they can just flip a switch come April. That's what you're relying on? You jackasses might not even get there. Like, seriously. I have to sit there and look at this team and say, how can this group be stupid and delusional enough to believe that they can just flip a switch come April? What, so you could get to Florida again, this time in the second round, and they make you look like a bunch of kids that belong on Barney and Friends? Again? What a joke. What a joke. Joe Micheletti said it best last night. At the very end, when they were walking into the tunnels, there was no physicality. There was no urgency. There were no second chances. They were all one and dones. Valaket ripped Mika Zibanejad again, but did it in a slightly more subtle way this time around. What is going on with this guy? What is going on? Or do you want to be on a beach in Ibiza DJing, or do you want to win a Stanley Cup? Because the way he plays on a nightly basis, him and Kreider, I don't know, what are they doing? Did these guys just mess around pregame and just like, oh well, let's go DJ somewhere, let's go to a club, let's go do this. What are you guys doing? I don't understand it. I really don't. And yeah, I could see them losing to the Blues as well. The Blues are going to come out as a house of fire on Monday. They're going to come out with a house of fire. And they're going to kick this team's teeth in because Montgomery is pissed about being fired from a job that he should have never been fired from, because the same exact shit that's going on here is going on in Boston, and a culture change is needed. And you know what, Anthony, you're talking about no one's coming through the door to save them, right? There's no big trade that's happening. Yeah. There's no Jonathan Huberdeau to Calgary for Matthew Tkachuk trade that's going to happen that'll save this team. You know what? This is right. This is what happens when the inmates run the asylum. That's really what happens. And Jacob Trouba, he's checked out. He's completely checked out. He's the worst captain I've ever seen in any sport anywhere. Definitely the worst captain I've seen in NHL history. No, but by far, Jeff Odgers was a better captain in Atlanta than Jacob Trouba is here. And that's saying something. Jacob Trouba is a freaking joke. Absolute joke. I'm trying not to drop F-bombs because I'm so pissed right now. But there's no emotion in this team. There's no urgency. This team comes out and they look like they're just going through 60 minutes. Like they just want to they're like somebody who's completely fed up with their 9-to-5 job. That's just waiting for Friday at 5:00.
By the way, Phil, I think it's called quiet quitting. Somebody said, I'm like, that just means you're shitty at your job. Keep going.
But it's just, there's no end in sight for this unless it comes from them. And yeah, and this is another great point. Jacob Trouba threw those words out there, and you know what? You set yourself up for failure by doing that. Yes, this might have been their last chance. But you know what? He's checked out. Ryan Lindgren looks like his body is being held together by paper clips at this point. I can't even say duct tape because duct tape is stronger than whatever he's working with right now. Igor Shesterkin Sorry, but you're not worth $11 million. You're not even worth 10. You're not worth a dime more than Connor Hellebuck. You're not.
Or
You're
Ilya
very good in the
Sorokin.
playoffs. You may be the best playoff goaltender right now, but during the regular season, you're a guy that's top 10. You're not the best goalie in the league in the regular season. You've had 1 year like that. 1 year. 1 year exactly, and you think you're Dominic Hasek in 1997, 1998. That's the problem with this team. They're all a bunch of delusional idiots. And you know what? I want to keep this because if we ever tried to get credentials, the same thing that happened with Anthony and the whole Romanov Sorokin thing, we're probably going to get rejected because of that. Because I'm just blowing this.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But
People have said worse, Phil.
What's that?
People have said worse and got credentials.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is that this team is being pushed around. The front office is being pushed around by this leadership group. There is nothing that this team can do. Because the minute that Zibanejad got his time cut by Laviolette, he must have went to jury and he must have cried about it because that ended real quick. Like, where is the accountability? Where is there any accountability? The words that should have came out of Mika Zibanejad's mouth at that point should have been, "You're right. I've been bad. I need to be better. I will go out and fix this." That's it. There shouldn't have been any argument. There shouldn't have been any complaints. There shouldn't have been any gripe that he had. There is zero introspection and accountability with anyone on this team. And that's the biggest problem. Yeah, you know what? They lost the team for trying to get rid of Goudreau and Trouba in the offseason. If that's the case, go home, all of you. Void your contracts.
Oh, God.
I'm okay with rebuilding because none of these guys have the balls or the stones to be on this team and deserve the jerseys that they have. They don't deserve to be on the ice. If that's the case, go right ahead. Leave. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. That's it. You don't deserve it. You don't. And you're ashamed. You're an embarrassment to the jersey and the logo on the front of that jersey if that's the case. And I hope to God it's not. Because if that's the case, then we've got an even bigger problem and everybody needs to go.
Filk, 100. And by the way, if you're going to tell me that the players have had problems because they were trying to trade Trouba and Goudreau was claimed on waivers, if that's your problem, yeah, exactly. Just quit. Save everybody the trouble. Go retire. And hell, ask for your money. Try to sue Jim Dolan for it, because then you're left with this situation. Hey, well, what do you want to do? Well, we got to get rid of Zibanejad. Our argument during their offseason. Oh no, well you can't because he's got no trade clause. Okay, what about Kreider? Well, he's good in the playoffs. All right, wait, what about Panarin? Well, he's got no trade clause and he scored 100 points. And you go through the list, and then you go, well, who are you going to change? Every team changes. This is what your job is. It's sort of like being in the military. Shut up, get back and help the team. You got to trust the higher ups. And by the way, Phil, you're right about one thing. If Zibanejad had any problems with Peter Laviolette should have held up his Stanley Cup ring. The fact that he's played in 3 finals with 3 different damn teams could have been a 4th. But Mika decided to pull a freaking disappearing act like he has. He hasn't seen the net in the Eastern Conference Finals since Game 3 versus Tampa. Screw him. Screw Kreider. All these guys. And I can't believe I just said that. I just probably damaged us.
He's another one, though.
They got to change. You have to change. Kreider is playing 12 minutes of even strength per game.
And he does nothing at even strength. Nothing. I remember a time where Chris Kreider was one of the best forecheckers in the league. And he would get in on the forecheck and he would cause havoc for opposing defenders. Not because he was, flying in there throwing hits. He should have been. But he was a guy that would go in and cause problems, and his skating would just cause absolute nightmares for defenders. He doesn't do that anymore. Zibanejad doesn't do that anymore. And I know a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, Riley Smith is a joke. Riley Smith is useless. Okay. What is Riley Smith supposed to do when the two guys that are with him are the problem? They're the problem. It's not him. They are. He's the one that's going out there and he moves his ass. He's the one guy that skates. And he's not the fastest skater, no. But he goes out there and he tries. And yeah, should Riley Smith have been a third line option for this team? Yes, absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that. But here we are because the $8.5 million idiot that's supposed to be the first line center doesn't show up to play on a nightly basis. Then the $6.5 million guy that thinks he's getting his number raised in the rafters in 5 or 6 years, that guy doesn't do anything at 5-on-5. He is a complete passenger now, and he can't pass the puck. I don't know how he had 30 assists last year, but he can't pass the puck. If the NHL had a Cy Young Award winner, Chris Kreider would be that guy every year. Every damn year. And you have to have a different mentality to take on teams like Florida. And that's what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. Yeah, we saw what a first-line center looks like, and he wore 97. And that guy ripped his entire locker room, a new one, in the middle of a Stanley Cup Finals game and said, enough is enough. It's not good enough. Yeah, and I didn't say the word, but you all know what that word was. It's just enough. It's just something needs to change with this team. And I know it's not going to be a massive trade. And I know Evan's calling for Phil Housley to get fired. I don't know how much that actually does.
I don't think it's coaching staff. I think it's the players now.
I don't think it's a coaching staff either. How many times are we going to fire a coach or a defensive coordinator or a power play coordinator, something like that? How many times are we going to do that before we finally sit there and address the elephant in the room? The elephant in the room is the players. And I don't think Laviolette being fired is going to change anything. Maybe they win a few games at that point. Maybe they make the playoffs, and we're just back at square one. And I know that some people will have that whole argument about Laviolette being a down year in year two. Every stop that he's had, except for Carolina, he's had a down year in year two. Year two in Carolina, he went from a rebuilding team to a Stanley Cup winner, which was crazy. We've never seen anything like that. But yeah, you cannot let this core kill 4 coaches. It's the group. It's the group. Enough is enough at this point. Stop catering to these guys. Start benching them. That's the only thing that's going to make any such sort of impact or change is that benching at this point, because that big trade's not coming. You can't can the coach because it's not on the coach. I said that the minute they hired him, there's no more excuses. You can't blame Gallant. You can't blame Quinn. You could blame them. Now you can't blame Laviolette. He's not a dumbass like those two were. Like, he's a Hall of Famer. He's going straight into Hall of Fame when his career's over. We all know this. So something's got to change from within. And normally I would say, you know what? They'll get out of this funk. They'll get out of it. They'll find their way. But the leadership group has been questionable for years now. And now with the captain looking like he's checked out, I don't think there's a helmet throw moment coming. Not that there should need to be one, but that got them 2 years ago. That got them going. I just think that the wrong guys are wearing all of the letters on this team. And I truly believe that number 13 is going to wear that captaincy at some point with this team. I get you can't put it on him right now, but he will be in the future. He will be. And the wrong guys are just wearing all of the letters. Yeah, that bromance is absolutely killing this team.
Well, they can sit in the press box together.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Give a beer.
Cool with that. You know what? I look back to 94, and I know that people are tired of hearing about it, but I'm doing this for an example's purpose. When Brian Leach got benched with Terry Yake's hat trick game, he responded. He was wearing a letter. He responded. Keenan didn't care about him like that. Laviolette needs to stop being their friend. And if it's not like his choice that he can't do this, then that's an even bigger problem. Then that means there's a disconnect between the front office and Laviolette. And that's what's really holding them back at that point. Because, yeah, the country club mentality. This is it right here. And I know you remember this, Mark, but that was the same mentality that plagued them in the pre-cap years, those 7 years.
Yeah.
Because they were just going in there. They were just showing up. They were getting a paycheck. Bobby Holik, I don't know why they paid me to be a number one center. Like, you knew when Bobby Holik said that to the media, you knew there was a ton of problems. Like,
right. And they still didn't have a coach that would do it.
Yeah.
Still have a coach that would do it.
And
but Phil, let me address two other things. We talked about it on a Wednesday show. The Rangers would not have a top 10 power play. I said by Christmas they wouldn't have a top 10 power, maybe Thanksgiving. They're right now at 10. Their power play, which they hung their hat on all last year, is disappearing. I mean, that's for one. And the other crowd that wants to sit back and talk about, oh, we gave away Zuccarello, they gave away Buchnevich. Those were contract situations. Kreider then went on to have his best career season, minus Zuccarello, minus Buchnevich. Then you had Zibanejad, who had a couple really good seasons right after that. His best statistical season still 1920. I mean, but these guys have not, their game's regressing. And I don't understand how that's even happening with Chris Kreider, a guy with that much size and speed. They need to come out, and there needs to be bodies on the ground, and they need lines to do that. We've been monopolizing so much time. Let's get Anthony right back in here.
I mean, a lot he said was, it's all accurate. I mean, I think what part of it, I think the issue is too. Compare it to the Islanders a little bit in terms of their window when they went to back-to-back conference finals. When you get there 1 year, okay, I can understand why the GM would bring back the same group because you were close. You do it again, but when you get back the second year in a row and you lose again, at that point is when you have to make a change. And I think with the Rangers, I think more of a change was needed than keep running it back. And Chris Drury didn't do that. And again, it's hard to do because he has a lot of players on no movement clauses, and they were a really good regular season team, so maybe he didn't want to tinker with things. But we're now at the point where a lot of people assume that their window is closed, and he missed the opportunity to really capitalize when they were realistic contenders to win the Stanley Cup. And now those days are looking further and further away. So now for me at this point, the worst thing he could do is to give Igor Shesterkin that contract now, because that would just be the icing on the cake of stupidity. You don't give a 8-year, $11-12 million contract extension to a goalie who's going to be 30 years old when it's looking like your team is now on the downward trajectory, or maybe being a wild card team. I mean, that would be so dumb. And I have a feeling that's something that he could do sometime between now in the holidays. Kevin Weeks a couple of weeks ago had those eye emojis and hinting at an extension. So
the show Johnny Lazarus did it yesterday.
The hand signature emoji. So yeah. I just think that would be the worst thing he could do at this moment. I would honestly I would hold off on signing him at this point to see how the rest of the season goes, because why would you lock yourself into a goalie like that if your team's gonna struggle to make the playoffs or be a bubble team? So I think they're just in a scenario now where there's not much you could do. I do agree a benching should happen. I don't know if Laviolette will do it, but these next 3 games are pretty important. We referenced they're going to be playing the Blues. Filk said Montgomery's pissed he got fired. The Blues players in the locker room, it's never a good feeling when you get your coach fired. So they're dealing with that. And now with a new guy coming in, like he said, they're going to go all out. Even though they struggle to score goals. I said they're third worst in goals per game. But when you're playing under a new coach, they're going to come out guns blazing. So if the Rangers lose to the Blues at home, and then you have a Hurricanes team that comes in right after they play the Flyers. If the Rangers lose, let's say even if they beat the Flyers, but if they lose 2 of the next 3, where they are in the standings, they could be in a situation where they're hovering around that second wild card spot or even the 9th place team. So they're at a pivotal point right now of the season. And for any Ranger fans who want to be a little more positive, which is fine, you could be positive, but there are certain real things here that are wrong. And if you're a fan, you got to be worried, because right now, if the season ended today, when they played Florida or Carolina in the first round, I think they would get destroyed. It would be a bloodbath. So they need to change it. They need to change things around, whether tinking with lines or who knows, maybe Drury can find some sort of team that's willing to dance with him in a trade. I know Kent Hughes in Montreal is looking to shake things up, but I don't realistically know what they could get out of Montreal that could really help them all that much. Realistically, the guys that would help aren't available. So it's a tough spot to be in, but it starts with their leadership group. Kreider, Zibanejad, these guys need to be better. And if they keep playing like the way they're playing, the season could get away from them quick, because you're not going to win with just Artemi Panarin producing points and Adam Fox and really Lafreniere. So they need to get their shit together, otherwise they're going to be in a situation where they're going to have to play catch up the rest of the way.
It's amazing because they do have to figure this out. And the one you guys want positives. I know somebody was just mentioning Cooley and Kakko.
Yeah.
But you got Peter Laviolette. He's spun straw into gold several times. Guy's the winningest coach for American-born coaches in NHL history for a reason. But they need to know who the hell they are. What do they hang their hat on? They're not a dominant 5-on-5 team. Your power play is mediocre. So if it's just going to be, and it's funny, I'm saying mediocre, they're 10th in the league, but they have not looked good. They've not looked good for a month.
No.
And the eye test says something completely different about this team. The guy that really probably needs the biggest change is going to be Keandre Miller. Because what are you doing with him? I have no idea what's going on. These defense combinations change almost on a nightly basis. I understand they were trying to move guys around, but Fox not being with Lindgren has hurt him. Fox looks lost out there. I know.
Looks slow.
And looks slow. If you guys want any positives, Anthony's dog trying to get a cameo has been the best part of this stream so far. But there has been just who on the team really looks good right now, except Will Cooley, and you like the fourth line. That's not gonna do you much.
Right. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if they were to lose these next 3 games, do you think that there's anything that would significant would happen, or just be the same?
I don't know if you can make moves in the next 3 games. I don't like the only thing I could say is, I think Giuseppe would probably be a nice little pickup right now. But it's really a matter of benching is really the only thing you can do. Like Anthony said, there's no trade that's going to come along and save this team. And somebody on Twitter said that it reminds him of the 92-93 team. I could see why you would make that parallel. Oh, there he is.
In fact, this is actually Bruno. Giuseppe's.
Okay.
He's easier to hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got my wife screaming in the living room about this right now.
Yeah, she commented in there. I saw Maria's comment.
This is Giuseppe.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, okay.
Oh, big Popeye.
Yep.
Look at Maria.
The thing.
Oh my
There
God.
was, but Phil, the 92-93 team, which was sandwiched in between. It's funny when you talk about that era. You go from Messier's arrival, Stanley Cup contender, President's Trophy winner to last place team to President's Trophy winner in a Stanley Cup. That team in 92-93, full of dissension with Messier versus Roger Nielsen. You had young talent they were trying to integrate, like
Brian Leach black ice injury really hurt
the Brian Leach injury. Remember the game where I think it was Gartner scored and somebody threw a puck in the net at the same time, and that negated a Rangers goal. Like, I mean, there was so much, and that was when they brought in Eddie Olczyk for Ty Domi and Chris King, and
yeah,
there was so much going on in that, and also Esa Tikkanen getting acquired for Doug Weight.
Yeah.
People forget that was in 92-93, not 93-94 at the deadline. And I think Kevin Lowe was also at the 93 deadline.
No, Kevin Lowe was acquired the season before, I believe. I think that was a future considerations type deal. I think it was Kevin Lowe. If I remember,
yeah, I believe it was future considerations. But again, there's no white horse. There's no Mike Richter coming to save this team, because that's what saved them in 1989-90 when they were slumping. Richter came in and basically held the fort for a little bit.
89-90 was also when they got Gartner.
Yeah, that was for Ulf Dahlin.
Ulf Dahlin, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was really like that. They brought that in, and then they ended up getting Nichols, I think, the year after.
No, Nichols was later that year. Gartner was second. Nichols was first.
Oh,
Nichols
that's right.
Granato and Sandstrom.
No, you're right.
That Neil went from no deal Neil to big deal Neil. But again, Anthony's right about this. Salvation can only be found from within. Okay, Rangers, you just had your worst. They got shellacked the last two games.
Oh no, it was the 92-93 season. Okay, it was December 11th, 92. It was to the Rangers for a third round pick in 93, which ended up being Alexander Kirch and Roman Oxiuta, if anyone remembers that name. I remember him mostly with, like, I believe he played with Anaheim for a bit.
I bet Steven knows who that is, because he just would. I mean, and I remember some obscure Rangers, and
I remember Roman Oxiuta more with Anaheim than I remember him in New York. But yeah,
but the only answer is the bench. You have no other answer.
Yeah, there really isn't anything more than benching someone that could really turn this team around. That's really it. Like, they don't have anything that they can really do at this point, and that's a problem. There's no immediate answer that's going to come in and make the shakeup, because this team doesn't have the type of killer mentality that is needed to win. It doesn't. It simply doesn't. The leadership group isn't good enough. That's why I keep going back to saying the wrong guys are wearing the letters. There's no one on this team right now that's ready for a letter on their jersey. And there's no one on this team that really handles themselves in the matter. Like Adam Fox, I don't know what's going on with him. I know Steven said in the chat before that he thinks that Adam Fox is peaked. I don't know about that. But what I don't get is how you're an NHL player and you have not improved your skating one bit since coming here. And I'm not saying Fox is a bad skater, but could you imagine if he really put his, he put the axe to the grind and really started to work on his skating? Like, he could be the best defenseman in the league if he wanted to. And he still is one of the better defenders in the league, but it just seems like even he's out there just kind of like he's part of that malaise too. And I don't understand it. I don't. You have a chance to be great, and this is what you show up with every night. I don't there's no true shutdown 1D. I listen, Fox is as good as a two-way D as you could find, but I mean, he needs something with him, because Keandre Miller is not the answer. I don't care what the analytics say about them and expected goals for. The Keandre Miller is not a top pairing defenseman. You want to talk? Okay, Dimitri, you want to talk about Hughes and McCarr? Yeah, they're better offensively, but those guys are not great defensively either. They're not. They're simply not.
But And again, Fox gets a little bit of a pass, but you're starting to see one of my expressions that I love to use. They're squeezing sawdust out of the stick. Like, they're starting to get tight. And you kind of saw it last night. Like, oh, they got to stop with spotting teams' leads. They're doing that left and right, and it starts beginning of the game. Look at the second game of this trip versus Vancouver. The Seattle game went pretty much as well as what the Rangers could hope. But the second game versus Vancouver, you're down 1-0 30 seconds in. You can't have that happen. And the Rangers do that on a game-to-game basis. And then 4-0 and 2-0 last night. We can argue about the Calgary game, but the amount of shots indicate that they were outplayed grossly by Calgary.
Seattle was another team that just absolutely, like, that first period was one of the worst first periods they've had all season in Seattle. And they somehow, because Jonathan Quick was amazing, came out of that period alive in the game.
By the way, Calgary averages 30 shots a game. They had 49 on the Rangers.
No, they averaged 29.
Oh, yeah, because it
was 29.6 the night that they played the Rangers. The number was brought up. This is a big thing too. The Oilers absolutely killed them without Hyman, without Arvidsson, without Kane, and they barely beat the Canucks without Miller or Besser. You think that score holds up with Brock Besser and JT Miller in that lineup? No way in hell. You are delusional if you think that they beat that team with those two in a lineup. I'm sorry. Not only that, but you know what another thing we've heard about there, Matt? Sheloves was in net. Thatcher Demko wasn't even in net for that team.
Yeah.
I mean, they are winning game, and you will talk about Vancouver is a playoff team. Yeah, Vancouver should be a playoff team when it's all said and done. Vancouver is a team that was injured. They beat the Islanders with an injured lineup, with no Matt Barzal, no Anthony Duclair, no Adam Pelech, nothing. And the Islanders still gave them a run for their money. They should have dominated the Islanders from start to finish, and they couldn't even do that. You know what? This team lacks a complete killer instinct. I'm going to say it again. They don't have it. They don't. And the difference between the teams that get there and maybe win a couple of playoff rounds and the teams that win it all is that killer instinct. This team does not have that. And I don't think that I personally think there's some interference from above. And I don't think that Peter Laviolette is allowed to do what Mike Keenan did to this team in '94. I really don't think it, because if that was the case, if it wasn't the case, if Laviolette had free reign to do whatever the hell he wanted, then why did the Mika Zibanejad reduction in ice time last for this long? And then they turned around and they promoted him to the top line, and he did nothing with that. I'm with you on this, Nick. I really think that there are some restrictions from above that don't allow him to do what he needs to do. Keenan stopped coaching one game, which was it was the Anaheim game. He stopped coaching in the Anaheim game. He said, if nobody wants to play, I'm not going to coach. That was it.
Mika Zibanejad versus San Jose, 17 minutes and 10 seconds. Mika Zibanejad versus Seattle, 14 minutes, 37 seconds. 21 versus Vancouver, because he had an even strength goal. So, that meant he should be on the ice for 21 minutes. And 18:30 versus Calgary, he was a -1. And Edmonton last night, a -4. Look, we could talk about Peter Laviolette all we want. We could talk about Chris Drury all we want. I see a -4 on my scorecard. I'm looking in the mirror the next day.
Sad. Can a bag skate do anything to this team?
No.
That's why I really wonder if a benching is going to do anything, because if a bag skate can't do it to this team, then what is a benching going to do? The Rangers right now are like a dog that goes around and wrecks your house while you're not home, and you give him the bad dog spray, and he either likes it or does nothing with it. It does nothing to him. Because you're going to give him the bad dog spray and just continues to do it. Doesn't show any sign of stopping. I don't. I can't see how this gets any better unless these guys have an intervention, if you will. An intervention. And a benching is just going to cause them to throw a tantrum to Drury. Oh, why am I getting benched for this? Why am I the problem? Why am I being singled out? No one wants to take any accountability on this team, and it's pathetic.
Well, but again, like, you're going to have to figure out a way to get through these guys. So, Anthony, how would you do it?
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, it depends upon the player, like how much they really want it. Like someone commented earlier in regards to benching Zibanejad or Carter, they said, who cares? They already been paid. So I don't know how much it would really motivate them. I think it's honestly, we talked about it. I think it's up to them to pull themselves out of it and look in the mirror and be like, we got to get our shit together. We can't just cruise until April thinking that we can just flip a switch because, you may not even get there if you keep playing the way they're playing. So I just think they collectively need to come together and raise their game and do it for the guy next to you. It's right now it's just a lot of laziness and no work ethic. But what I kind of been doing was just going through the standings here, and they're really, I mean, it's so early that when in regards to making a trade, as we spoke about, like, and even a team like Columbus, they got 20 points, so they're about 3 points out of a playoff spot. So even though they'll fall down the standings as the season goes on, but my point is, even a team like them right now, they're not going to make a trade, So, like, I mean, I guess like Montreal's probably an exception. They got 16 points. I mean, maybe that's a team that would make a deal, but other than that, there aren't many others. Ottawa's 1 point better at 17, but they still believe in themselves. They're not going to sell off any pieces. So yeah, I mean, there aren't really many options. I mean, Chicago, Montreal, those are and San Jose. Those are probably the three teams that, even though it's early, realize that they're not going anywhere. But again, what are you going to get from those three teams? That's gonna help you. Are you really going to get a huge lift by getting I don't know Phil Kershaw? Like, I don't. It's just the point is, I don't think Drury has any recourse to do anything huge at this point in the season. So, I again, not to keep repeating myself, but I think it's on them. I think they just got to play better for each other and want it more, because there are a lot of teams out there that have something to prove. There are teams like Buffalo. I know right now they're third in the Atlantic, but that's a team that's going to finally push for a wild card spot. They're young. They want to get into the playoffs. That fan base, along with the New York Jets, has the longest playoff drought in all of sports. Like, those guys play with high energy and purpose. And right now, the Rangers I feel like they're taking it for granted, being, we're going to be in the playoffs. We're going to have a long playoff run. But no, they're not that kind of team. They're not the 2013 Chicago Blackhawks team that was a dynasty that could kind of just like cruise through the regular season and then just turn it on in the playoffs. That's not them. They need to play much better. And if they don't, like I said, they could find themselves, outside of a playoff spot or just barely holding on, right after Thanksgiving. So they need to be a whole lot better. And it starts with the leadership group, as we talked about, because they've been bad. All the leaders in that room that wear a letter, they've all been bad. It's unacceptable. Honestly, to me, for my money, like, Will Cooley's one of the highest, hardest working Rangers on the team. They need that mentality. They need that mentality, night in and night out. And when you compare the stark difference between the Rangers and the Islanders have more skill but don't work hard. The Islanders don't have as much skill, but they work really hard, and that's why they stay competitive. I mean, Mark, you saw the Nelson goal last night. Nelson scored from his knees. He didn't give up. He got the puck. He's on his knees. He fired it home. Like, Kyle Palmieri is, leading by example. He goes in there and plays like a bull. They work hard. They work hard, and the Rangers' top players, they don't work hard. Zibanejad doesn't work hard. I mean, it starts there for the younger guys. If you see a veteran like Zibanejad not working your tail off, why would some of the younger players do? I mean, thankfully, Will Coley doesn't do that, and he does work hard. But my point is, how do you expect your younger players to play when they see the veterans coasting and no accountability? It trickles down.
The only thing I could think of right now that would really send a shockwave that would change things up possibly would be stripping the leadership group of their letters. And that would be extreme, and it wouldn't happen. But you wanted to send a message to this team right now that they can't get away with this and not show up every night. That would be the way to do it, because that's gonna put it's either gonna do one of two things. It's gonna get them to light a fire under their asses, and they're gonna start playing better. Or if you want the exodus, it's gonna start the exodus, because Zibanejad's not gonna be happy with it. Kreider's not gonna be happy with it. They're probably gonna want out. And you know what? That's probably the best thing for this future, for the future of this team. But start putting the letters on younger players. Start putting the letters on guys like Lafreniere and Cooley, guys who play, to the example that you need to play with every night. And Mark, you got something on the tip of your tongue, so I'm going to let you.
Yeah, because you can't. The hard part about that, Filk, is the one guy that I could think about that I think that happened mid-season was Joe Thornton. Didn't Wilson strip him of the captaincy in the middle of the season?
Yeah, he ended up getting traded. Yeah,
and that did not go well. I think you lose the room if you do that. However, and you're giving it to younger players. I think if you strip the letters, going with just to workshop your idea a little bit, I think if you strip the letters off the guys, that lets you know, guys, nobody's special. That we're all in this together. That's a bit of an extreme, but I get what you're trying to say with that, because you're not. There's not much else that's going to wake these guys up. They need to wake up.
Yeah, they need to absolutely wake up.
It's not something, because I brought this up before, and when you get a team that it's like, what do you hang your hat on? I was talking about this with the Islanders last night. I don't know what the Islanders particularly. I could look at them and go, this is what they do. It's getting to that point with the Rangers. Losing the room, yeah. This is a room I desperately want to keep. Yeah, but the problem is, if you think you lost the room now, if you're worried about that, then it's going to happen. And it's like Sean's right about that.
I don't. You know what? So
like they don't care.
If they have lost the room now already, then go ahead and do it.
Then strip it all down.
They strip it all down at this point. If that's what's really going on behind the scenes, and he's lost the room, strip everybody of their letters, and just go scorched earth.
And it's hard to do that too, because how are you going to get rid of Mika Zibanejad at $8.5 million with an additional 5 years left on his deal?
You move Chris Kreider. He has a 15-team no trade. You can send him to any other team that's not on that list without a problem. He's still a player. People will take him. He's only at 6.5, so it's not like he's making close to 10 and he's a complete albatross. Change of scenery could probably give these guys a boost. I'm with Sean on Zibanejad. He just doesn't care. I'm sorry. There's no way that you can convince me that guy cares about and playing like that on a nightly basis. And yeah, make Zibanejad a healthy scratch until he waves, and that's it. He'll get the point, and he'll know that he's not wanted anymore, and that's it. Either that, or he's going to come up and he's going to start playing well. And if you scratch him for a few games, and you send a message, and he comes back and he still plays that way, then he's scratched until a trade happens.
Yeah.
He's scratched until a trade happens. And if you have to eat some money on it, then you might have to eat some money on it. But something's got to change with this group. And
who are you talking about, Kreider?
Zibanejad.
Oh,
what?
I asked who you were talking about, Kreider or Zibanejad with that. Zibanejad.
Kreider needs to go too. I'm done with Chris Kreider. I really am.
Did Mark lose his mind and tell you that's not possible when you brought it up?
No, I did, but I did say it's very difficult to try to do right now.
During the season. It's not
actually easy to do in at the end of the year either, because again, you have so much investment.
You got a 15-team no trade. You can actually trade this guy.
Well, Kreider you can trade, and you should.
No, I'm sorry. There are 16 teams that you can trade into where he has zero say in it.
Yep.
Zero. So it doesn't matter. You could deal him for pennies on the dollar and send a message and be like, hey, you think that you're safe here? No one is safe. And the minute you do that, Mika Zibanejad will cry because he's as soft as baby shit. And he'll ask for his way out too then at that point. And good. Let the door hit it in the ass on the way out. And I purposely said let the door because this guy has cost this team so badly in 2 different playoff runs. Disappeared in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 straight seasons.
And the funny part about him was he was playing well those first 3 games versus Tampa. Mr. Invisible the rest of the way.
He did the same shit this year, though. The first 5 games of the playoffs, he had, 10 points? 10 points in the first 5 games. And then he disappeared after that. He had 0 goals after game 1 of the Carolina series.
He disappears when the game gets more physical.
What?
He disappears when the game gets more physical.
I
hear a rumor that the game gets physical in the NHL playoffs.
Yeah, and that's why this team will not win with this group.
Which, by the way, I want to point out, Filk, every fan that keeps saying, oh, Drury, poor roster construction. No, when it comes to the core, you look over and go, thanks, Jeff. You did great.
Yeah, and that's all Jeff Gorton. That's all Jeff Gorton. Trouba was his work. He acquired Trouba when he didn't need to acquire Trouba, and he gave him $8 million and bid against himself. Terrible move. Artemi Panarin is probably the best free agent signing in this team's history. I get it. But did you really need to go and acquire Artemi Panarin when you were rebuilding? You literally acquired him 16 months after you sent out a letter stating you were rebuilding. That's a quick rebuild there, buddy.
Yeah.
Don't you think? You acquired Jacob Trouba. And then you have a coach that benched your number 2 overall pick because he took a borderline penalty in a game where he was having a career game to that point in his very young career. Like what I see, here's what I don't get. If you were going to stop the rebuild and go forward and act like you guys are a playoff team, then why not fire the idiot of a coach that you had there? The guy that was coaching like it was Hockey for Dummies 101. He was looking straight as a book as he was freaking coordinating his practices. Oh, you can't stick handle on a 2-on-1. Like, why not fire that guy then and go get a real coach? Made no sense.
I wonder if there's a when you're talking about no trades coming, but when you do look at some teams that might make a move now, I wonder if there's any opportunity for a Fowler and Zegras combo, and what that return would be. Because you hear
Trading
rumors.
Mika Zibanejad for Cam Fowler and Trevor Zegras.
I wish.
I
I wish. Cam Fowler is what they need, though. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
Cam Fowler is exactly what they need playing next to Adam Fox.
I'll agree with you on that.
It's certainly possible he's moved by the trade deadline, though. There's been,
Fowler's definitely getting moved by the deadline.
Yeah.
Zegras, I'm not sure. That might be an off-season deal.
Yeah.
But he's another one, though. I don't think he has what it takes to be that guy that wins a cup.
Yeah, we all agree with that. Yeah.
I think
Trevor Zegras? No, not yet.
Content with his flashy friggin' Michigan goals and all of his nonsense and all that other crap and being a PR. Like, I think he would have fit in perfectly with the Ooh La La Sassoon Rangers because he would have been partying with those guys at Studio 54 and he would have been getting laid and smoking cigarettes and all that other crap. And he would have been, showing up on the ice every other game. And he'd get his points because he's talented. He's super talented, don't get me wrong. But he's a guy that cares more about being a superstar and a brand than he does winning.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Again, right now, you can only look to within. And one problem that the Rangers have is they got a game at least every other night. If not, I think there's a back-to-back in there for the next 2 weeks. And until the first week of December, they don't have 3 consecutive days off. Like, there isn't practice time. They got to figure this out in game. Laviolette's got his work cut out for him. That's for sure. And I think what really should stick in this team's brain is the last goal last night, not the one that
I'd rather eat Tide Pods.
Yeah. But
no, the opposite.
But by the way, the McDavid goal to end the game last night, the minute 6-1, like McDavid just toyed with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's McDavid being McDavid, but what are you doing defensively there? What are they doing? I get he's a highlight reel, but come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look, there's components, but guys, we also got to look at this ahead of time. That you got Keandre Miller, who's got a contract coming up. Igor Shesterkin, who's got a contract coming up. They keep struggling. Their brains start thinking of next year and their contract and what damage am I doing to this? And then they start worrying about their play. Is Shesterkin going to lock it in and have a 928 plus save percentage like he did the last 2 years after the All-Star break? Maybe not.
Igor's 15th in save percentage and 31st in goals against average. And you're telling me that he should get 11.
Oh no, you know my stance on it.
His number.
I wouldn't pay him a dime more than Ilya Sorokin. You want his money? Look at what your buddy's doing. Because let's do that. Because Anthony, you can pat yourself on the back on this one for a minute. But save percentage, where is he? Ilya? All right, I thought Sorokin was in the leaders, but we still got the time where you got guys.
My point.
917 for Ilya Sorokin.
Hellebuck is winning the Vezina this year.
Yes.
Let's just stop the conversation right there. Because
but
anybody who tells me that Igor Shesterkin is better than Connor Hellebuck needs to remove their heads from their ass before typing or talking.
Exactly. There's no chance. No chance. And the thing is, I keep saying to everybody that comes into the bar, stop thinking with your heart. Think with your head. Because Shesterkin, who he was in 21-22, has not been the same guy the next 3 years.
That's the outlier. That's the exception, not the rule.
He's closer to being Jim Carrey than he is being
Who
Dominic
cares
Hockey.
if he's better than the playoffs? The salary cap is what counts in the NHL. And it affects the regular season. You do not pay a goaltender $11 million, $12 million. And Steven, this is not on you. This is on every other pay Igor idiot that I've ever seen online. Igor Shesterkin is so much better than Gunnar back in the playoffs. Who fucking cares? Because you're going to pay him what? Because he takes this team to the playoffs. He took this team to 2 Eastern Conference Finals. And yeah, what did they win? What are we going to do? We're going to do the same stupid thing that we've done for the last 20 years, run it back by overpaying the goaltender and building from the net out instead of realizing that everybody that's won in the cap era has won from center.
Yep.
You build down the middle and win. Show me a team that has won by building from the goal out, and don't tell me Florida, because they won because of Alexander Barkov, and 2, you know what they won with? That second thing is 3 players making a combined less than $14 million against their cap. You want to know who those 3 players are? A 57-goal, 94-point Sam Reinhart, a 30-plus goal, 70-plus point Carter Verhaeghe, and a 10-goal, near 40-point Gustav Forsling, who got serious Norris recognition. You want to know how they got those guys? They were reclamation projects.
Yep.
Florida literally caught lightning in a bottle. They are not a rule. They are the goddamn exception. I'm tired of hearing this bullshit because it's nothing but bullshit.
I still disagree with this. He's still saying Igor's worth. He's not worth $12 million a year.
No.
Why is he?
No.
Why is he
disagree
worth $12 million
entirely.
a year? Because he's good in the playoffs. Yes, that's good. That's good that he's good in the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe I'll go pay John Druce $12 million a year because he tore the Rangers a new asshole.
His regular season's
Stupid.
Who would you rather have, Corey Crawford or Henrik Lundqvist?
What?
Who would you rather have, Corey Crawford or Henrik Lundqvist? Chris Osgood, who's got 3 Stanley Cups.
Me that Henrik Lundqvist would have costed $12 million a year, and Corey Crawford would cost half that, but you'd win with Corey Crawford. I'm taking Corey Crawford at that point.
And by the way, let me just illustrate something else. Let me compare Lundqvist to Shesterkin, because for the people that go, well, the cap percentages is still the same. Let me give you this first before we get too far. Henrik Lundqvist.
This 150 friggin' % this.
From let me see what that quote is.
Goaltender, if you need a mental reset each season and your stats are not even top 5 in the NHL, fuck off with that.
Like, to be honest, what the Rangers do is trade him right now. Let me just give you guys this. Hold on. Henrik
Trade this guy
Lundqvist.
right now. Get rid of him.
Henrik Lundqvist, his second season on 70 games played. These are just games played. 70, 72, 70, 73, 68, 62, 43 in a shortened season. That was 48 games. 63, 46 due to injury, 65, 57, 63, 52. And that was to the second last year of his career. Let's go to Shesterkin for a minute.
The idea of paying a goalie $12 million who's not even going to play 20, he's going to miss 25% of the team's games, and he's not 97, 98 Dominik Hasek.
Over.
Is one of the most stupid frigging things I have ever heard in my life.
Like, to get to that percentage, to get to that percentage, Filk, Lundqvist had to be injured 46 games in 14, 15, and then by the time he got it, he played 57 games at the age of 34. And that was when, and that would still be Shesterkin's second highest amount, 58 games 2 years ago. Please.
Comments like these I like seeing because the team has been dog shit defensively. Lucas Dostal and the Anaheim Ducks play on one of the worst teams in the league, and he's got a .924 save percentage and a much better goals against average than Igor Shesterkin. So don't tell me it's because the Rangers have been dog shit. Because it's not you. Cam Talbot in Detroit. Detroit is a tire fire, and Cam Talbot has a .921 save percentage. So I don't want to hear, Igor's numbers are down because the Rangers are dog shit. When these teams are significantly worse, and these goaltenders have better statistics than him. Stop making excuses. Just stop the excuses, because he had one great year. He won a fucking Vezina trophy. They're gonna be like, make excuses now for him the rest of the fucking time that he plays hockey. He's good in the playoffs, yes. That doesn't mean shit when it comes to the regular season. He is not worth $12 million, and I will die on that hill. He's worth.
I'll die on that hill with you.
I'll die on that hill.
I'll die on that hill.
$9.5 to
Here's
$10 million.
Henrik Lundqvist year by year save percentage wise. 05-06, 922 as a rookie. And that was with, remember that defense in front of him that year?
Yep.
Do you remember that? Because I certainly do. It was Michael Roosevelt and Marek Malik was his top pairing. His second pairing was Darius Kasparaitis and Fedor Tutin. His third pairing was Jason Strudwick, and then acquired Sandis Ozolinsh at the trade deadline. And that was Sandis Ozolinsh after all the substance abuse problems and all the other personal issues that he went through before that. He was a shell of himself. 917 the next year, 912 the next year, and had 10 shutouts with that team in 08. 2009, 916, 2010, the first time he misses the playoffs in his career, he has a 921 save percentage.
With 10 shutouts.
923 at 4 shutouts in 2010. Then 2011, 923. 2012, his Vezina year, 930. 930. 10 years later, Shesterkin had a Vezina for the same team and posted similar numbers, but Lundqvist goals against 197. The year after that, 926. The year after that, 920. The year after that, 922. The year after that, 920. And 2016 was his last year of a 920 save percentage. Anyone that tells me that Igor Shesterkin is anywhere near the level that Henrik Lundqvist is and has had to deal with the garbage in front of him that Lundqvist dealt with for the earlier part of his career does not understand the game of hockey. You don't. You weren't watching. You have no idea of what you're talking about. So stop. Stop right then and there.
And by the way, Filk, sorry, I looked at the wrong number on shutouts when I was quoting that with you. I actually looked at something else. But no, yeah, 100%. 100%. And then for Igor, whose numbers, his goals against and save percentage had gone up. Or gotten worse, I should say. Not save percentage, has gone down. Since he won his Vezina. And they have not improved. They have not improved in any way. Sure, you want to be like, oh, yeah, what has he done in the playoffs? All right, good for you. Has he been able to win? And then to say, oh, pay him $12 million. Now you're taking a $4 million defenseman off the team when you could be paying him $8 million. Or you're a $3 million defenseman. What do you think that's going to do? Oh, they're going to get rid of Trouba. They're going to spend the money on the right guy next time.
What is overpaying Igor and getting into those contract demands going to do? It's going to tie up the cap for the next 3 years. Even if you get this extra supposed $4 million, whatever increase that they're talking about on top of possibly the increase that was quoted earlier on, you're still going to tie up so much cap that you cannot do anything because you've already given Alexis Lafreniere his extension. You've already given him his money. He absolutely deserves that money. That contract's going to be a steal in a few years. Watch on that. Then you're not going to be able to win in those next 2 to 3 years because you're not going to be able to make the moves that you need to put this team over the top because, as stated, this course sucks. And here's the other part. Let's pick a struggle, people. If this team is good enough to win, then okay. Then, you know what? They need to make some moves. If they're not good enough and they suck, what sense is there in paying a goalie $12 million when you're going to hamstring your cap? Because after those 2-3 years, you have 2 to 3 years to win. Just like Henrik. They gave him that contract, and they had 2 to 3 years to win, and then that window disappeared. And that was it. That was it. You're going to have the same thing happen again. But you know what's going to be even worse? Instead of an $8.5 million contract to a late 30s goalie, you're going to have a $12 million contract for a late 30-year-old goalie. And you're not going to be able to move him. Because even then, $12 million for what's going to be probably a backup at that point is going to be a joke of a contract. Every team is going to laugh at that contract. So,
and I mean, after all, Filk, I heard this rumor that you really don't get better as you get into your 30s, with the exception of the guy that wears.
Everybody is Yarmir fucking Yager and defies Father Time for quite a few years.
Right. The only exception, by the way, Anthony, is the guy that wears 29 on the New York Islanders. He got better after the age of 30. I mean, come on. If you're not seeing these great numbers out of Shesterkin right now, it's going to be a joke.
Anthony's got to go.
Yeah, I gotta hop off in a minute. I just want to point out that UC Saros has a .918 save percentage, and he's on a team that's 7-11-3, a bad Nashville Predator team. Even a guy like him who makes his cap hits seven point something.
It's just under 8.
Yeah, so you're telling me Igor's $5 million better than UC Saros? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Who's
negotiating this?
I'm tired of people mentioning Bobrovsky. That deal was regarded as the second worst deal in the league, other than Jonathan Huberdeau's at that point before they won. He wasn't even the starter entering that playoff run. Alex Lyon had to get them into a playoff spot. Fuck off with this revisionist history.
And by the way, Phil, don't forget something else. That he's still playing behind the best defensive forward in the league. Do the Rangers have that?
No.
Because I point this out all the time. We've said 5 Vezina Trophy winners have won Stanley Cups in the cap era. 2 Selke Trophy winners have not. So everybody should think about that.
That's actually a great stat.
Like you're not like you said before, built from the center back. I would trade and again, guys, you want to say I'm crazy for this? Fine, I'm crazy. Right now, if you would okay the deal and the other guy would too, Mika Zibanejad for Sean Couturier right now.
Oh yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat.
I'll see you later, fellas. It was fun.
Take it easy, man. Have a good one.
I'll talk to you guys. And Mark, real quick, your Dolphins are putting an absolute hurting on the Patriots right now. So throwing it out there.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, I played their defense and I played HEN as well. So far, so good with that. And hey, CJ Stroud has actually got a pulse. But
for you Giants fans out there, the Commanders are having their way too. Which, Phil, I know that makes you happy because you want the high draft pick. Yeah, yeah. All right, I'll see you guys. Take it easy.
Take care. And actually, Anthony, it was the Buccaneers having their way.
Buck, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, my bad.
Oh no, it's all right. Just letting you know because I'm looking at it right now.
Commanders are playing the Cowboys. All right.
Yeah.
Later, guys.
All right. Take it easy. So, Phil, we're going on the 10 minutes. By the way, everybody, we have 176 of you guys watching us right now on X and YouTube. So thanks. Because it's a little bit. Look, we're getting analytical, and then it turned into a little bit of a bench session. But Phil, I've talked about this numerous times, and I'm going to be writing something about this soon as I can sit down because I'm usually doing 9,000 different things. But I keep comparing the New York Rangers right now to the 2004 Red Sox. You came close, you lost to the better team. That's it. The fact that the Red Sox had the stones to say no more Garciaparra, you got to go. And then you look over and go, they completely changed around a lot of things. What are the Rangers going to do? And that's why I think the guy that I'll point to is Keandre Miller. Keandre Miller, you could probably get a decent package for him back. He's young. There's plenty of teams that are going to be licking their chops. And you know what? When does talk of an Igor Shesterkin trade happen? It would be unprecedented. But
it's got to happen. No matter what happens with this team, they can't pay him. They can't. It makes 0 sense for them to pay him right now. And I'm not just saying this just because of any talk that I've already previously made. I just don't think that it's not right. It doesn't line up with where they need to go. They need to go in a different direction. And Igor Shesterkin getting paid is not going to help that one bit. It's delaying the inevitable. This team had a window to win. The window is closing. Unless they somehow pull it together. Yeah, Colorado won with Darcy Kemper, and Darcy Kemper had a sub 900 save percentage in the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean that tells me all I need to know about elite goaltending. Winning cups. It doesn't happen. Look at the goaltenders that have won in the Cap era. Cam Ward. He won a Conn Smythe. He won a Conn Smythe. He pulled a Bill Ranford out of his ass.
Yep.
And what did he do afterwards? Average career, nothing special. He got by on a reputation. He got by.
Chris Osgood.
John Sebastian Jaguar, 2007. After the illegal shoulder pads were banned, he was never the same goaltender after that.
Because people, they do the Mandela effect with him. They think about 2003 and apply it to 2007.
He was
not the case.
The same goaltender.
Once and by the way, Phil
got banned, he was not the same goaltender.
Phil, who was he playing behind? Scott Niedermayer
for
Chris Pronger? I heard a rumor those guys might be going to the Hall of Fame. So let's go on from there. Let's just go from there from Phil.
Yeah, and then you have Osgood, and he wasn't even the starter entering that 08 playoff run. He took it from Hasek. He took it from an aging Dominic Hasek. 09, Fleury. And don't talk to me about Fleury, about his Vezina or anything like that, because that Vezina didn't come until well after that.
2020.
Well, at 2021.
Yeah, sorry.
Well after that.
Okay, so we got those two covered. 2010. Anybody remember the goalie that won that?
Niemi.
Anthony Niemi.
2011 was Tim Thomas. Okay, Tim Thomas.
I'll give you Tim Thomas
that year. He's one of the exceptions to the rule.
2012, Jonathan Quick. Never won a Vezina.
He was considered one of the game's elite at that time.
Okay.
Another exception to the rule. 2013, Corey Crawford. 2014, Jonathan Quick. 2015, Corey Crawford. 2016, Matt Murray. 2017,
really? Matt Murray.
Matt Murray. 2018, just to throw this out there, it's Braden Holtby, but do you know who started that playoff run?
Philip Grubauer, the first
Philip
game.
Grubauer. And Holtby won it back in the middle of that Columbus series.
Yep.
So,
which they were down 0-2 after losing the first two games in overtime.
And and Barry Trotz made the change. 2019, Jordan Binnington.
Oh, he's Stanley Cup and elite worthy right now, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah. He still might be starting for Canada.
And then 2020 and 2021 are the last exception to the rule, and it's Andrei Vasilevsky.
Yeah, and then I'll throw you the bone on Bobrovsky too, everybody. But
I'm not going to, because Bobrovsky wasn't an elite goaltender at the time. His contract was viewed as an albatross.
But wait, Filk, we forgot the ultimate guy in all this. Who won the cup in 2020? No, but we forgot.
Aiden Hill.
Aiden Hill, whose maximum amount of games played in the season. Filk, Aiden Hill's maximum amount of games played in a season before winning the Stanley Cup was 27. If you put a good enough defense in front of a goaltender, that matters more than the goaltender. You cannot play Igor Shesterkin.
If Igor Shesterkin has to be Igor Shesterkin and he has to go and have a 935 save percentage for them to win a Stanley Cup. What exactly does that tell you about the team in front of him?
That tells you a lot.
It's not good. It's not good. It's not.
And
it's
this
just
team,
like, shot blocking. We led the Rangers. We used to lead the league in block shots. What does that tell you? You don't have the puck. You can't win if you don't have the puck.
Yeah.
If you are on defense and you're the best attributes of your team are that you block a ton of shots and your goaltender stands on his head, then that means that you're not a good team. You're not. That's it. And that's why these people that are so going around saying pay Igor. Yeah, you're gonna pay Igor with a bad team in front of him, and then 5 years into that deal, that contract becomes immovable because he's going to decline, and he's not going to be the same. Just like Lundqvist. You want to point out when Lundqvist really started to decline? 2017.
Yeah.
2017.
And even at that, by the way, 2017 when he started the decline.
3 years into that deal at that time.
Filk, his decline was still 910 save percentage, 274 goals against. He still had a 915 save percentage after that, but even though his goals against went up 2.98. And then he still made the All-Star game in 2018, 2019, but the Rangers
He made the All-Star game in 2018 and 2019 because he had real good first halves.
Yeah.
And he burnt out in the second half of those seasons. So provided those teams weren't good in front of him, he burnt out.
Right. And look, it's stuff that this team needs to. They got to be honest with themselves. You can't.
Did somebody really suggest David Savard? Do we really want to go back to the Dan Girardi and Mark Stahl types? Is that really what we're going for here?
I wasn't even looking at that.
Oh man, that's gonna help.
Yeah,
that's gonna definitely help us out.
All right, Phil, let's go for another 4 more minutes. I've got some chili that I got to eat in the moment. Yeah. It's just that things look, they're not as bleak as what your worst thought is. They're not as good as your best thought. But here's the other thing about it right now. They're 19 games in. Something's got to give.
Yes.
The 94 Rangers traded for Steve Larmer early in the year. They dumped Darren Turcotte and James Patrick. And then they held on to guys like Tony Amonte. And then ended up moving him at the trade deadline and Mike Gardner. Things can change. But Chris Drury, you can see him in press conferences where he stares off into the distance. Like he's got to be doing that right now, just sitting at home. Because that team last night was terrible.
Who's the guy that comes in and fixes everything? There's no guy that can come in and fix everything. One guy I could point to that could help would be Matheson in Montreal. If you want to talk about Montreal targets, Matheson would be a guy because they need another puck mover. And Keandre Miller needs to be sent down the lineup. He cannot play on a top pairing. I'm sorry, you just can't. He can't.
And you can't use Jacob Trouba as a top pairing defenseman.
No. Jacob, well, you wouldn't anyway because that's 2 right side defensemen.
I know, but I'm just saying, as you can't play as much as you are. You got to start hiding them.
General anymore.
Because after all, Jacob Trouba right now, let's see, where is he age-wise? Because I forget. He's just Jacob Trouba, who is a Rangers #1 defenseman for a month. He's averaging 20.32 minutes per game. Yikes.
Galcan FTW. I hate to tell you this, but Matheson's name has been in the trade mills for quite some time, my man.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you're getting that from, but that's a name that pops up on a lot of trade lists.
Well, because Montreal ain't going to be going anywhere.
No.
That's
still
for sure.
60-plus games left of season. Okay. So let's just say they start playing better hockey. Okay. You really feel confident about this team winning a Stanley Cup? I don't.
As of right now, no. And again, Phil, I still maintain.
Yes, Frank Saravalli and all those guys don't know anything. Good story. Good story.
But the thing is, when it comes to this team, Laviolette's trying to figure out how to make them successful in the playoffs. You could talk about the way Paul Maurice went into Florida and shook things up. Filk, again, Florida had the stones to trade arguably the greatest Panther in their franchise history at the time for Matt Tkachuk. and it paid off with the Stanley Cup, and it's going to pay off tomorrow. And no, David, by the way, we didn't really feel confident with them at the beginning of the year, but on the other hand, kind of thought this team was going to push. This is the lowest this team has been in a long time. And yeah, as Matt's talking, Trouba's going to be 31 in February.
When they were like, when I was pointing out the flat starts and the inconsistent efforts last year, at least the efforts were good night to night. This is the first time in a long time that I can really point to this team just not showing up for games. And the starts are not just flat, they're terrible where they're not playing defense at all. Like I don't know. I have not seen this team this bad in quite some time.
And it can't be with Mancini and Jones in there, because you're not going to win with both those defensemen in the lineup. It's just not going to happen. Show me the last Stanley Cup where guys, basically two rookie defensemen playing. And look, Matt brought it up, and I think you brought it up, and I think Evan brought it up back in the playoffs last year. They made a huge mistake going with Gustafsson over Jones, but
they should have made the trade for Eichel when they had the chance. And what Buffalo wanted for him was just Kravtsov, Hedl, Nils Lundqvist, and a first-round pick is what Buffalo wanted. And Chris Drury said no to that. Just remember that.
Well, at the time, I think I probably would have said no to that only on the basis of I wanted
Eichel. I wanted Eichel, but I listen, I didn't. Yeah, you could have moved Buchnevich in that deal. I don't know if Buffalo would have taken him, but it wouldn't have fit their timeline. But every damn time, it's proven talent over prospects, and I just right now, like if Brady Tkachuk became available, Gabe Perreault would have to go in that deal. I do it, and I don't think twice about it.
407 Rangers is saying right here, guys, I was trolling about Georgiev. Okay, so yeah, he knows that Francois and Kemper were in there. All right,
I didn't even see that. I really don't know what he's talking about. I'm sorry, man.
Well, no, that's like half an hour ago now, I think.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Right, and I was just pointing it out that's what won, but again, there are people that think that letting Georgiev go was the wrong move, but Georgiev won it out, and the fact of the matter is, good. But
you do need a center. You need a center because Mika Zibanejad is not playing like a number one center, and that's why you need a center at this point. And I know that I have a friend that he's saying Ryan O'Reilly. You know, if Mika falls to garbage again in the playoffs, Ryan O'Reilly. You know what? I didn't like the idea at first, but I tell you this right now. Ryan O'Reilly is more of a leader than Mika Zibanejad or anyone on this team is right now. And maybe that's the type of guy that comes in and takes over the locker room and says, get your shit together, boys.
Yeah. Well, you would actually ask him about their financial goals. No goals. But look, there's other guys.
I don't think Ryan O'Reilly is a number 3 center in this league, Jimmy, but I definitely think that he's a hell of a leader and just a massive upgrade in that regard. Is he the same 70-point player that he was in 2019? No. He's not that player anymore.
But also, if you get into the Rangers without subtracting anybody, then that's something. But I also, I got to look at what his contract situation is. By the way, guys,
he's an unrestricted free agent, I believe, at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And
by the way, guys,
I only think his cap hit right now is about $4.5 million. But is Nashville going to be out of the race? Like, I can't see, unless things go terribly wrong for them.
Yeah.
I can't see them looking to trade players out. Like it doesn't make any sense to me for them to be able to, or for them to do that. Nashville doesn't have a lot of cap space though. They've only, according to cap wages, it's a little under 1.5 million. And they've got that $4 million dead cap from Ryan Johansson and 2.5 from Matthias Ekholm that they retained in that trade with Edmonton. But O'Reilly, oh no. Yeah, O'Reilly's 4.5. He's got 3 years left though. Oh yeah, that poses a problem for the Rangers.
But by the way, guys, just to mention two things. One, this is Jim Berenger. He was a guest with us a couple weeks for the last couple weeks. Check him out on Full Press NHL or at Jim Berenger at on Twitter. On X. But yeah, don't forget to do Shane buyout too. But look, just because we say Ryan O'Reilly type, you still look for that player. They found him when he was on Buffalo. That you could go to that. And yeah, look, Eichel, the Rangers were a little bit skeptical about that surgery. I would be too. Vegas, they don't flinch. Vegas gambles, and
because you have a hell of a talent. That surgery proved to work. Peyton Manning got it.
Yeah, but I think it was in your neck. I don't think many guys got it in their neck, but Peyton Manning had it, and then a couple years he fell off the roof. Now,
but he was also older.
Yeah, but now look at Jack Eichel.
But Jack Eichel was a guy that was right in his peak years. He was a guy that could have came back from it.
Jack Eichel, who's 5th in the NHL in scoring, tied for 4th. Sorry, with Mikko Rantanen.
And Vegas doesn't even have a juggernaut offense anymore.
No,
you lose Marchessault, you lose Smith. I mean, it's really their offense is going through Eichel. Like, he is the guy there. 32 friggin' points right now, this guy, and he's 28. Like, he is on pace to have the first 100-point season of his career.
Which would be amazing, because that's sort of like Stamkos hitting it 10, 11 years into his career. Actually, like 15 years into his career.
Their number 2 scorer right now is Ivan Barbashev. Mark Stone has missed 8 games. Well, no surprise there. Tomas Hertl has 17 points in 21 games. Shea Theodore, 16 points in 20. Pietrangelo, 14 points in 19, which is actually really good for him. Dorofeev has 13 points, 10 goals in 21 games. And then, their offense really isn't like, it doesn't stick out to you on paper as this amazing, amazing offense. It's not. They're not anymore.
And again, it's a question of what are the Rangers going to change, because something does have to change. 407 Rangers is saying Winnipeg Trouba just disappeared like Thanos snapped his fingers when he went to the Rangers. Yep. And the funny part is they'd still do that deal all over again. You're talking about basically Kevin Hayes and Neil Pionk for Jacob Trouba. I just wouldn't use them like the way they did.
I mean, even if you want to take a say, oh, they took Villianola with that deal, and Enola has been nothing. Like, okay, you could have done so much more and done so much better. I mean, Dallas took Thomas Harley. You could have taken Thomas Harley with that other pick. I mean, it's just, yeah, and that quote right there is really it. Really it.
And by the way, everybody, make sure you're leaving us a like right now. We have 179 of you watching right now. So everybody, thank you very much. And also leave the like, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or
you think Eichel drops off? Yeah, I don't know about that, man. I really don't know about that.
Eichel's got 32 points right now. He would have to get 8 points the rest of the year. Oh, wait, 40 power play points?
He has 11 power play assists, no power play goals. He doesn't even have a power play goal, Eichel.
Yeah, wait till that
That's
starts
going to change.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you may have looked at those numbers, but I don't think you look specifically at the context.
Mikey, one reason why I also say that is Pionk's a good player, but it's just that when you have Adam Fox, you got basically redundancies, and Adam Fox is the far superior player of the two. And I still thought the same thing at the time when they traded him. Tony DeAngelo was on the team, and Adam Fox was still better than Tony DeAngelo and Neil Pionk. So, Marcelo is saying, did you guys see Alex Belzile score a highlight reel goal a couple nights ago? Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Alex Belzile is a minor leaguer, nothing more.
Yeah. By the way,
I'm not trying to sit there and talk bad about the guy, but it's really like, how do you get excited over a player that's really not going to do anything with this team?
I mean, I get more excited thinking about Ken Jernander back in the day.
I like this post here. It started last year when they sat Jones in the conference finals while throwing out defensemen who had no right being on the ice. Trouba was awful in that series.
Trouba was awful, but you know what? Eric Gustafson wasn't much better
in a playoff series.
Yeah.
And that includes Ryan Graves against Vegas in the playoffs a few years ago, when Ryan Graves literally got exposed by the Golden Knights.
I don't think there's any chance to get Konechny, the top of my head, but I'm going to go to cap wages and look.
I like Konechny, and he's a gamer, but not enough of a needle mover. Like, you're going to bring him into play with Zibanejad and Kreider. Okay, I get it, but I think they need to do something further than that shakes up. And I wouldn't give him the money that he's looking for. Like, he's like a 65 to 70 point player.
Let me also throw this one out at you, Phil, because we keep talking about the leadership group changing. You bring in a guy, let's say for shits and giggles, they bring in Ryan O'Reilly. What exactly is there to say that Ryan O'Reilly is going to get the command in the room and the respect that he would deserve? And Trouba wouldn't be pouting. Kreider and Zibanejad would be like, well, what do you think about this one? And Panarin would just go off and go do his thing. It's where you go back to when they were, it's just, and Jim's hitting it right here. We say it again, culture change time. Maybe they should have gotten Trouba out this summer. Not a maybe. They should have. I wouldn't respect them.
They should have.
You want to try to screw us? No.
And they should have done it. They should have done it, and that should have been the end of it.
But the thing is, Konechny's got such a big contract that increases his value. So I don't think the Rangers have enough to go get him.
The only thing, no, he didn't use his. No, this is not what happened. What happened was he got word of it, and then his team supposedly leaked out that he wouldn't report to a team that he got traded to. So he basically subterfuged a deal and tanked it. He needs to go. I cannot wait until he's gone. He has to be near the top. Probably one of those top 5 most hated players I have ever had watching this team.
By the way, who'd be your number one top of your head?
What?
Who's your number one hated Ranger top of your head?
It would probably be him.
On mine, Stefan Quintal.
Quintal was just bad.
Quintal was bad, but then he whined.
Yeah, and then I get it. And then he played okay for Montreal. I get it. I wish
I could get the money. I wish I could give the money back and go to Montreal. Like
I get it. I do. But listen, back then it didn't matter because the whole team was bad, and he didn't have this. There was no salary cap, and he didn't have this massive contract or anything like that. He was just a bad player that was brought in and whined a little bit.
BYT 1225.
You're actually right about this.
Yeah. One thing I see is Mika's playing like he's not to get hurt. When he gets passes, he pauses immediately and tries to shoot one-timers.
Why Mike Keane?
Maybe it just frustrated.
Because
Maybe
of
he thought he was going to be
LaFontaine?
better than what he was.
Is it because of LaFontaine? That's not his fault. That's an accident. And LaFontaine was at that point. He was what? If anything, and I hate to say this because I like him and he's a former guest of the show, but Neil Smith didn't go high enough for Sakic.
Yeah, but also because, like Neil Smith said, there was no chance. They were not going to let Sakic go.
If they would have went higher, yes, they would have.
By the way, John was in last night at Kirkers. Trying to remember his name.
What?
The wrestler from AEW we're talking about.
John Silver?
Yeah, John Silver.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, good. I did say the right name. It's like I was talking to him last night. I'm like, it's funny because my co-host loves you in wrestling. So, but I'm like, I just know you from the gym.
I'll tell you right now, Trouba has done unthinkable harm to this team. Yes, he's played hurt and has cost this team in 2 different seasons. He cost them in the playoffs. He cost them in the offseason when they were looking to move him. It's terrible. Listen, I don't even care about this. That doesn't even bother me. The team being as bad as they are is more of an issue. Like anybody worrying about the Devils or any other team right now, stop.
No, and again, that could all change then at the snap of fingers. Because after all, look at that Rangers-Devils series 2 years ago. Rangers dominated the first 2 games. Then Igor Shesterkin, they're up 1-0. Kreider on the partial break. And then Igor makes a stupid penalty, hitting Timo Meier. The Devils go on the power play. Jack Hughes cashes in. The Rangers don't cash in the third period. Dougie Hamilton in overtime. And then they laid the fattest egg in game 4. Everyone on that team. Jonas Siegenthaler's shot that was from as far out, it could have been in a different zip code, was able to beat Shesterkin. And for a guy that had a .931 save percentage in that playoff series, he definitely wanted that one back. But you know what? $12 million. He makes that save, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I that's not even the comment I wanted to highlight actually, but it's still funny. This is one, and yeah, I think he's checked out. I think he's completely checked out. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I think he's checked out. I think he knows because he's done. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. It just, I mean, the first goal they scored last night was just Panarin just laying an egg on defense. He didn't care. He just didn't get back. He fell, didn't get back, didn't try skating back at all. Trouba's got to go though. I mean, he clearly is just checked out right now, and his defense is just bad. He's got to go.
It's just to the point of, let me since you're gonna not change anything from external forces, there isn't a Sean Avery trade in the works. Because remember I think it was 07-08 when they got Avery, suddenly that was a spark they needed. But you look at this team,
they got him in 06-07.
Oh, sorry, that one. 07-08 was when they had Drury and them on there. Sorry.
Yeah.
But you look at them right now, you almost need like the Herb Brooks motivation, where everybody looked at Mike Eruzione thinking he was going to get cut. He's the team captain. Where do I fall in line? And everybody starts working on it a little bit more. Depicted in the movie Miracle, that the we're a family moment, but it was probably a little bit off from that. But it's they need to figure out what this team is. And you know something? Right now, this team isn't that great.
No
You
idea.
didn't get that West Coast trip and go, they got lucky 2-2.
Yeah.
They probably could have been 0-4.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And think about it. If you want to say, hey, you know what? Seattle was the one game they won. You play Vancouver with Besser and Miller in that lineup, they're not winning that game.
You can only play who's in front of you. We'll always go to that one, Phil, but it's just, you know, they need to make sure that do they want to win a Stanley Cup?
I really question the desire on this team. I really do. And I question the desire will nailed in efforts night in, night out. And they do nothing to change anything. Nothing. Nothing has been done to change a damn thing with this team. And I don't understand how you can come out night after night playing this way when, you know, you guys are talking about running it back in the last dance and all this other stuff. And you know, don't talk about cup aspirations if you're going to play like this.
Right now, they're like a fat guy running a marathon. They took about 3 strides, said, all right, this is going to be too tough. And now they're hunched over going, well, now what are we going to do? All right, well, because that's where they are. If you can actually, if you want to see the last 2 games are outliers, fine. They better look good because Carolina is licking their chops right now. And they get them Carolina Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it's Monday, St. Louis, Carolina, Wednesday, and then Philadelphia Friday afternoon.
I mean, this team, it's a gut check moment. And the one thing I can tell you is Peter Laviolette probably leaned into him last night. If not, then it's.
But what does that do at this point? Has he done so this year already? Because if he hasn't, then that's bad on Peter Laviolette if he hasn't done it. That Buffalo game should have been it. That should have been it. That should have been no more of this shit. Should have been the clip from the 2012 Road to the Winter Classic.
Yeah.
Where he said, this, you know, against this and this team, okay, one night. Tonight, not fucking acceptable. That's right. What it should have been.
And that was after a 6-0 loss to Boston.
Yep.
That they had.
They lost to Boston, and then they came out in whatever game that was that night, and they were playing like absolute crap. You have one fucking period to go out there and win that game, and you know what? It's too much. The Buffalo game should have been the bottom line. That should have been the wake-up call. They were playing like crap before that, and it didn't change after that. And now you have 2 games like that in a 15-day span. Not if Laviolette hadn't ripped them already, then bad on him. If he's ripped them and this is how they respond, then there's an even bigger problem.
There's a huge problem, and there needs to be changes made. And look, one more time, as a fan, I am probably no bigger fan of Chris Kreider than anything else. As a pundit, they have to move him. And I think it actually is becoming now. You have to move him now. Either that or you have to hand over the keys to Alexei Lafreniere. Get him on the first power play unit. Get him more time. And
I don't understand how this power play could be so bad for so long and they haven't made one change to it.
Yeah. But the bigger problem is going to be Mika Zibanejad.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Deal with it. You're not playing good. Deal with it. If you have any stones on you, the next words out of your mouth will be, I'm not playing well. I understand it. I need to play better. I will do something about it. Those are the next 4 things that he needs to say. That should be it. If you are anything worth the letter that's on your jersey, if you deserve that A in the smallest semblance, then you will go out there
and you will make things better and stop crying about it.
Hands down. And it starts with just the shift. Do your job. Forecheck, back check,
You win one shift,
paycheck.
then you win one. You win. You win one battle.
Yep.
You win one shift. You win one period. You win one game.
Exactly.
And then you go from there.
Exactly. And you know what? You have to have the will to do it. And you have to go to it. So, guys, everybody, thanks very much for watching. We have great numbers right now. We still have 200 of you watching. But we've been doing this for 2 hours. We got a lot that we have to do, and we're starting to talk in circles. So,
Yeah.
guys, thank you. Can't say that enough. Watch us every Wednesday at 5:45, or actually 5:40. We're gonna try to go early this week because, yeah, I gotta get to work because I gotta do Thanksgiving Eve this week, so I can't wait for that. But I am gonna go and spend a lovely afternoon with my wife, and hopefully, Filk, there's a better effort tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And that's to say the least. Everybody, thank you very much, and we will talk to you soon.